So Phase 3 has been out for a few weeks now, and I just wanted to give my thoughts on how the phase has been thus far. Hello everyone, my name is Link from Linqwow, and I make World of Warcraft videos. Please help me get to 1k subs by hitting that subscribe button, and let's get into it. Let's first talk about the new raid, Trial of the Grand Crusader. I think everyone's expectation of this raid on both 10 and 25 man was that it was going to be extremely easy. Was that the case? In terms of the 25 man, I think for the most part, the answer is yes, with the caveat being the Twin Valks taking maybe a little bit of extra practice for most groups, and Anubarak turning out to be more difficult than we actually expected. I thought for sure that in my main guild Pog, we would steamroll right through this content after the first night in less than an hour, and I was expecting us to go ahead and run 10 mans immediately after. We were, however, unable to kill Anubarak 25 man on Heroic our first week once it came to the end of our raid time, which really did surprise me. We ended up switching to normal at the end of the night just so that we could finish it up, which I love the new dynamic difficulty scaling for all sorts of different groups and guild groups that are going to be attempting this. I think that is a great feature. We were, however, able to get him down our second week in just a few attempts since everyone knew the fight better, and then our third week did bring us to the full Trial of the Grand Crusader 25 man Heroic clear, with 50 attempts remaining, not a single wipe. So 25 man, relatively easy, but I do think that it is a nice difficulty depending on the type of guild that you're in. 10 man ToGC, on the other hand, was of course about as easy as I expected, since I had already tested it somewhat extensively on the PTR about a month or two ago. I think that if I was going to throw out anything from my 10 man guide, and make sure you check that out by the way, it's my most successful video on this channel, it's that the Zerg strategy on 10 man is not actually as easy as the normal strat if you're going for 0 wipes. The damage that the tank is taking during this fight with the ads stacked on them is insane. We did manage to 1 heal 1 tank Heroic Anub 10 man, but there was significant RNG involved, and I would probably say it's not worth it if you're at 50 attempts when you arrive at a noob. It would probably be easier to 2 tank 1 heal this versus the 1 tank 1 heal strategy if we had to go back and do it again. If you do want to see the video of us killing 10 man Heroic Anub with the 1 tank 1 heal strategy, I'll drop a link to it for my Linqwow clips channel, where I'll be uploading VODs and clips of raids that don't really fit on my current channel. We did manage to get 0 wipes in multiple 10 man groups last week in both Pog and Fortunate, so shout out to both of them. I've heard some mixed sentiment about this raid being too easy or too short, but personally I am loving it. We started running double 10 man ToGC back-to-back runs at Fortunate for the first time last Saturday, and it is a great time if you have alts. I healed the first one on my Holy Paladin, and then I DPS'd the second raid on my Feral Druid, which Feral Druid, amazing. I really hadn't tried it out last phase so much, but man, it is so much fun with the new Fairy Fire playstyle. It is amazing. The raid is also easy enough that you could carry an undergeared player through Heroic, or even just switch to normal if you were all undergeared. I think compared to Ulduar, Trial of the Grand Crusader has a much more having a beer with the boys type of vibe versus Ulduar. Ulduar is a fantastic raid, and I really loved it, but the hard modes were actually pretty difficult, and some raid teams are still working on their Algalon 25 man and Yogg 0 light kills. I think Blizzard did a good job of keeping Ulduar relevant for longer this time around. However, and I have to say it, I'm sick of Ulduar. I despise going back to Ulduar after we clear ToGC in both of my guilds. I thought I was free of Vezax and calling out kicks on that fight, but here we are, farming comets, flares, and Valinir shards. Trial of the Grand Crusader is challenging enough to be fun and short enough that progging feels good in that raid. It is definitely the confidence boost that my other guild, Fortunate, needed before we head into ICC, and it's a fun raid to blast through with Pog each week. The raid feels more like a playground than a raid, and having no trash in this raid makes it feel fantastic. And let's go ahead and switch gears to Heroic++ or the new Titan Rune Beta dungeons. These dungeons, if you don't know what they are higher difficulty heroics that award 10 man Ulduar loot. These were highly anticipated for me with my army of alt characters that I was looking to gear. I set out to gear up a priest and my warrior in these dungeons when they dropped, and I've probably run at least 50 of these since the patch dropped. My feedback on these dungeons is that they are actually a lot of fun, and if people follow the mechanics, they actually feel really good to play through. I've had to tank nearly every Heroic++ group for my guild at this point, and I have to say that DTK and Gundrak are now some of my favorite dungeons. I hated the lifesteal mechanic from Titan Rune Alpha, but with this new poison debuff that turns blood pools into poison, I actually feel like I'm the DPS when I'm tanking. It's super satisfying to pull a group of mobs into a poison pool and just watch them melt away. Halls of Lightning and Stone are both amazingly fun for DPS classes with their stacking damage debuffs, and running those dungeons is definitely more fun than they were on Titan Rune Alpha. I will have to say, it is still somewhat boring as a tank or a healer in those dungeons, but if I get my Fury Warrior geared up and run some HOS or HOL, I know I'm gonna have a good time. Violet Hold remains one of my favorite dungeons, with it being very straightforward and easy, even on Heroic++. The affix is actually fun in my opinion if you're a melee DPS that attacks fast, or even on my Holy Paladin, I love to run around and one-shot those mobs for the haste buff. Now, of course, I still hate the spider dungeons with a passion. I will never run Oculus, even if it's the daily for a week in a row, but in my opinion, these dungeons have been a huge win. Dungeons no longer feel just like this boring, fall asleep at your keyboard slog. And there's also finally a reason to go back into the dungeons all the way in Phase 3, which I think is a great thing. It adds another dimension to the game that at any given moment, I can look for heroic groups again while actually getting relevant gear for my characters. It just feels nice to me to have something else to do besides raid log and mount farm, since I haven't really gotten into PvP in Wrath of the Lich King. Overall, I think Heroic++ is a big win for Wrath of the Lich King, and I cannot wait to see how that system evolves in both Phase 4 and into Cataclysm as well. The biggest negative I can think of for Heroic++ is the barrier to entry for fresh 80 characters. When I hit 80 on my Priest, I was 2400 gear score and wasn't really sure where to begin. I've been working on that character here and there, and if you would like to see a video on how to gear your fresh 80 character or alt, make sure to subscribe as that video will be coming out very soon. So, Phase 3 so far. I think it's been great. It's given me a lot of time that I used to spend in Ulduar back to me, since it's a shorter raid, and I think between the short raid of ToGC and the new Heroic++ system, players are finding a lot of ways to spend their time in the game, without feeling forced to. We also know that WoW Classic Hardcore is on the horizon, and I can't wait to spend some time there before Phase 4 and ICC release in Wrath of the Lich King. I think Blizzard is finally finding their footing with how they want to balance each of these versions of the game, and I'm enjoying the ecosystem that they've created. I'll put out another video giving more of my thoughts on all versions of the game at a later date, but for now, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.